What's up, everyone? Today I want to talk about Slorm, which might be the strangest intro I've ever made, but what we're talking about is The Slormancer. Now, this is a new indie ARPG that just released on Steam a couple of days ago, and I've been playing it the last few days. I've been streaming it, and it surprised me. So I want to talk about it. I was expecting this to just be a little bit of fun, a bit of hack and slash combat, but it's surprisingly got a ton of quality and a lot of depth in its systems. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about it and raise a bit of awareness that this game exists because it's surprisingly good. So if you're burned out on like the big ARPGs, you know, the PoE2, Diablo 4, that kind of thing, then maybe something like this would be fun because it's been a lot of fun for me. So let's get into it. So what is the Slormancer? It's an ARPG. If you've played an ARPG, you'll know what to expect. Anything in the genre, it's kind of similar. You go into a map, you fight loads of monsters, you get loot, upgrade your character, put in skill points, that kind of thing. But there's kind of a lot to this one. The way this works is you have this town, and as you're progressing through the story, you are bringing people back to the town. You're going into like these different places and rescuing people and bringing them back to your town. So you bring back like a warehouse man, he'll open up a warehouse for you to store items. Bring back a trader, and then you can sell goods. Bring back a blacksmith, you can upgrade your gear, things like that. And as you progress to like the midpoint, like the mid game, you start to unlock the people who manage the end game systems. And then, other than just having story, you start to have these big end game systems you can start grinding, like with increased difficulty. Like as you slowly progress through the different levels, everything gets harder, the gear goes up, and there's quite a lot to it. So that's the game. As you're doing this, you have three characters. You have the knight, the mage, and the huntress. I think I'm a huntress, archer, huntress. And they all come back to the village. So you save them and bring them back to the village. So it's all on one like file. You don't have to start a new game. You don't have to like make a new character. You would just like come down here in the town and you would find the mage, you would talk to them and say, you know, shall we play the mage? And then you just play on your mage character, which is kind of cool. So yeah, that's the game in a summary. Now I just want to talk about like the systems of the game because it surprised me how much progression there is. You know, when you think of like an indie ARPG, you think, oh, I can put points in dex and intelligence and that's probably going to be it, and pick some skills. There's a lot. So I want to go over it because that's probably the thing I'm enjoying the most. Okay, so let's talk about the systems and the progression because it's surprisingly impressive for an indie game. So first up, everything down here pretty much is a way to progress your character. So if you go in here, this is your Slorm Reaper. Now everything is Slorm. Slormite, Slormine, Slorm Reaper weapons, everything's Slorm. So I'm going to say it a lot. You might get sick of hearing the word. So the way this works is every single weapon for your character is a unique. So you find them in the game and they all have completely unique attributes. So you can see here, this is the bow of the mana bender and it's based around, you know, managing your mana. This one I'm using right now is the bow of the nimble warrior and it's based around like crit strike damage. And the more you slay monsters and the more Slorm you gather, these weapons level up. And when they get to a high enough level, they also evolve. They can evolve into like, you know, enhanced weapons, which is a pretty cool system. And there's a lot that you can see. These are just the bows. There's quite a lot to go through. You know, I barely got any compared to how many there are. And there's like the same for like the knight and the mage. And that's just the weapons. Now, on top of this, we also have the character attributes, which is like, you know, strength, dex, that is their version of that. Then we have the skills. Every single skill in the game has its own skill tree. So kind of similar in a way to like how Last Epoch does it, where, you know, you master a certain skill and then you go down that rather than having a skill tree like something like Diablo. So with this one, we can go down any of the skills. So these are all the skills for my character, and you can go down any of these and progress them. And as you level up, you unlock each new tree, and then you can pick one passive from each of the trees. So say like Void Arrow, you can go down here and you can go into like splitting arrows. So, you know, every time you hit an arrow, it'll shoot an extra arrow, for example, or you can go down to like piercing arrows, or I've gone into this one, which is like whenever you defeat an enemy, it opens like a wormhole and sucks the enemies in, which is just really fun. So there's a lot of variety. So that's just like your abilities. Then you have a advanced class, like a subclass or like a progression of your class. So for example, the huntress, you can be a architect where you can summon turrets. You can have the sharpshooter where you have like a dodge roll that gives you buffs when you land the roll, and you can have like loads of other things happen as you roll. As you can see here, you can tailor it in quite a few ways. And then finally, you've got the Mist Walker, which is like you drop like a cloud. I've not played it, so I don't really know what else it does, but you drop like a cloud and you get buffs and stuff. So yeah, they're fairly different, and obviously each class has its own progressions. So That's the skills. And that's where a lot of your, your Slorm, this is your Slorm from defeating enemies. That's where a lot of your Slorm will go. As you keep playing, you keep unlocking more. Then you have the legacy tree, which looks a lot like the passive tree from PoE. As you progress through the game, you get these passive points. So it's fairly simple compared to something like that. So you get like what, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. I'm on 6 right now. And you progress your way over to the nodes that you want to unlock. So you put a point here, and then you get to this node here, which is like raw damage, and you can increase this. You can spend your Slorm to increase this, and you work your way over to like the different things you want to unlock. So it's kind of cool. Another little way to progress your character. And then you've got like gearing as well. So you've got your gear. Your gear can be enhanced, and there's a lot of stats and things you can do. There's like legendaries and special stats. So the character progression has blown me away. It's yeah, for an indie game that's like $20 or something, it's pretty wild how much you can do in this game. Okay, now for the combat. The combat is probably less deep, but really fun. So you can master 2 abilities and your special. So for me, I've got like the normal arrow, which I'm using, and that's like a spread. I'm using that as like a scatter shot kind of thing. And then the void arrow I'm using as like a big damage, open these big portals. And then you have your special ability from your class advancement, or like your subclass, whatever they're calling it. And this is, for me, it's the roll. You roll into enemies, you release a bunch of damage, and you get a buff. So yeah, that's the main thing. And then as you get gear and auras, you can have additional things to press. That you can have like a healing button, things like that, defensives, that kind of thing, which comes from your gear. So that's the combat, fairly simple. However, it's surprisingly challenging. So it starts out, fairly simple. Some things have like AoE, some things teleport, some things, put things on the ground. It's not too bad, and you can get away without doing much gearing. But as you progress through the story, you get to like this mid-end game, or like mid-game break, where you hit a certain point where it says, go and do a bunch of like additional stuff before you can finish the story. And this is where you unlock the end-gamey, mid-gamey systems. And they're like progression, and you choose the level of thing you want to go into, you start farming these resources, and then you make your character stronger, you upgrade your gear, you level up, and you climb up these raft levels. You do these like wave events that get more and more challenging, like a roguelike kind of event. So there's loads of like these little end game systems, and they're hard. They're hard. I went into this thinking, this will be easy. We can break this game. It'll be easy. It's an indie game. It's hard. Bosses can one-shot you. You can get overrun. You can stand in one thing and mess up a whole run. It's got a good level of challenge, and obviously you can tailor that challenge to where your gear set is, where your build is. Surprisingly good. So should you play The Slormancer? I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is the next big ARPG. I'm not going to say this is going to be massive, and it's not Unreal Engine 5 graphics, and it has its problems, and some of the stuff in the game is fairly simple. It's a very linear story, but what it does have is fun. This is a fun game, and I'm talking like as you go through the story, it's funny. There's good jokes, there's good humor. It doesn't take itself too seriously. Then as you hit the end game, stuff ramps up. As you hit like the mid game, stuff ramps up. You have challenge, you have really good character progression, you have really good like challenging and difficult progression of the end game systems. There's good loot, there's good itemization, and you can just tell this game was made by people who know how ARPGs work. Something as simple as this, and you're gonna recognize it if you play RPGs. If I go in the inventory, every single piece of gear, right, has like these stats. Some have like pure stats, so something like, do I even have any? There's like legendaries. Some items like this have like a pure stat, so the green means like it's like an enhanced stat. So there's like chase items, has its own item filter. So you've got the filteratron. You click this, item filter, hide normal items unless it has a pure stat or a perfect score or a highlight stat. So like the game is just made by people who know what they're doing, and you can feel that from the gameplay and like the combat all the way to how the end game works. So yeah, if you're looking for a break from the bigger ARPGs, maybe you'll have a bit of fun here. Like I say, this is just something that caught me a little off guard in how good it was, and I don't see enough people talking about it and giving it kind of the love it deserves. So hopefully for some people this will be just what you're looking for. But that's the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. If you find this useful, do consider subscribing to the channel. I cover a ton of ARPGs, and I've been streaming stuff like this if you ever want to come and hang out and just chat live. But that's it. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.